It's finally here, the true successor to the ROG Swift. Hey everybody, welcome to PC Perspective. I'm Ryan Shrout, joined by Alan Malventano. Today we're here to talk to you about a new monitor. This one we have right here in front of us. This is the ASUS ROG Swift PG279Q. This is the follow-on to the very popular, I would say probably the most popular Vsync monitor that was released to date. The original ROG Swift with model number PG278Q. So this is the 279Q. There's your differentiating factor. So we've done a lot of videos, we've done a lot of reviews of variable refresh monitors, both in the Vsync world and in the FreeSync world, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's hard to impress us now, but it's hard to stand out and differentiate, I think, in a lot of ways.
That's true.
So for example, the general technology of this monitor is it's a 2560 by 1440, 27-inch IPS screen.
We've seen all that so far.
Acer has released, they had the XB270HU, which is the monitor you have, the monitor we reviewed here, that it has those same specifications. Now, the differences between that monitor and this, both support Vsync, both have really good image quality, both have good color reproduction, both have great viewing angles. There's two things I think that really make this stand out. One is the build quality of the display.
Yep, it's basically the same as the original ROG Swift.
Which everybody loved. Like if you use that monitor, the build quality, the plastic, you know, it seemed like, I don't know, heavier, higher density, better quality.
Yeah, it's all textured, none of it is glossy.
Yeah.
You know, it just did a really good job with it, and they've added a little lit.
Yeah, so they've got this thing, the ring around the base here they called Light in Motion, and now they've added the ROG logo, Republic of Gamers logo, illuminated as well. I mean, the stand supports height adjustment, tilt, angle, swivel. You can rotate it into the portrait mode. It seems very stable. It's very sturdy. Everybody that has used this over anything else that's out on the market in terms of Vsync monitors seems to like this form factor better. The other differentiating factor that the ROG Swift here has is that it supports a 165 hertz refresh rate, which is higher than the 144 that the Acer supports. And it's actually the highest kind of marketed refresh rate I have ever seen on a consumer monitor.
On anything.
Yeah. So
it's technically an overclock.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about it, right? So the monitor comes out of the box supporting up to 144 hertz. And you go into the OSD and you enable overclocking. There's like a setting you go to and you hit on. And then you can select which frequency you want it to go up to, right? Kind of in multiples of 5 or so.
You actually get multiples of 5.
So you can go 144 up to 150, 155, 160, or 165. And that's basically setting what the new maximum refresh rate will be.
And then when you acknowledge that, it gives you a little prompt saying, hey, I'm going to reappear to the system in a higher mode.
Yeah.
And then it actually reboots the monitor. And it shows back up now, of course, this, I don't think, well, this machine
this machine will be able to handle that. It won't be a problem. It has a GTX 980 in it. So
it basically is as if you just plugged in a different display, effectively.
It's basically redoing the EDID.
Yeah.
Back to it. And so it's interesting, right? Like, why did they have to go the route of overclocking is kind of interesting, right? If the monitor supports it in the OSD, the driver supports it, why they wouldn't just enable it out of the box is a little bit confusing to me.
I think part of it might be that I think you can only easily store so many different refresh rates in the EDID info. And this one already has, you know, like...
It's from 60, it's like, 75,
it's
85.
Like 23, 24,
oh, list those
59,
two. Okay.
60, and then it goes, what does it do? I think it goes 80...
Is there a 90, 100, 80, 100?
It's like 80, 100, 120, and then usually 144.
Yeah.
And when you do this, it actually replaces that last one.
Yeah, so you don't have access to 144 anymore. If you drop below 165, you get back to 120.
Yeah, it just changes it to whichever one you set it to. Yeah. That becomes the new maximum. You know, which is, it's fine. You know, it seems weird that they wouldn't just kind of give you that extra one.
It's interesting to me. There's got to be some other reason for it, whether it be a panel manufacturer issue or like a bandwidth issue. Because we did hook this up to like an Intel integrated system, and it wouldn't support the overclocked.
It wouldn't even do 144.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So there may be bandwidth issues where the Vsync module in a GeForce GPU kind of fudge things a little bit to overclock the bandwidth.
You are kind of pushing bandwidth. I mean, obviously DisplayPort can handle, multiple streams.
Yep.
And each stream could do like one of these monitors at the same time over even one cable. So we know that the bandwidth is there on the cable itself, but whether or not you can do one channel at that much of a higher speed, maybe NVIDIA is doing some kind of trick there, or maybe there's a new version of the spec that we're just not.
Now, I will say that like color reproduction, one of the things that can happen, like if you've seen those Korean monitors that you can overclock, sometimes you lose some color fidelity. We didn't notice any of that.
We didn't. Nothing was apparent. We actually had a hard time trying to reproduce that in with a colorimeter on it, just because our test system is not like a full Vsync gaming system. Right. So, I had briefly put up a couple of color charts while the display was calibrated, and just tried to
switch it back
flip it around and see what happens. And it didn't seem any different to me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say it was anything that's going to be that noticeable. If you're that concerned with this, like display color reproduction, you probably already have the colorimeter yourself that you can do your own calibration.
Yeah, that's true.
And you probably would then just put it in 165, see how good it makes it. You would know if it was passable or not in your case, and if it wasn't, then you just
scale back to 144 if you need to.
Maybe not even all the way to 144.
What's interesting to me is, so color seems great.
Yep.
I honestly went into this expecting the difference between 144 and 165 to be almost unnoticeable.
Me too.
To be negligible. And that really wasn't the case. Like, you were the first person to kind of hook it up and connect it to a display, or connect it to a system that did 165, and you kind of immediately could tell a difference. And you're somebody who uses a 144 hertz display at home all the time.
I'm always on 144 at home,
And so the difference is, it's kind of hard to describe, and this is in the full write-up on PCPort.com. It's like, you equated it to almost getting to the point of where it doesn't feel like there's a refresh rate at all.
Yeah, it's like
almost like a constant.
It's like an uncanny valley thing. Right?
Yeah.
You know how with that kind of a thing, like you just get past this threshold where all of a sudden it almost seems like it's just real and not like a reproduction or a drawing or something. Yeah, and this is that must be like around where that threshold is, at least for me perceptually, maybe for you because you seem to notice it as well. It just
I did.
It just kind of becomes liquid, like the desktop.
The thing that stood out to me is, like, usually when you move a mouse cursor kind of quickly, you get this blurring, right? And even at 144, you're getting some amount of blurring,
right?
But it's just way less.
Yeah.
Right? The outline of the cursor is sharper for longer as you do it. Now, obviously, if you move it really fast, you can still get blurring at it. It's not an infinite refresh rate or anything.
Right.
But I was surprised in Windows how much of a difference that made. Now, in gaming, it's a different story, right? Because
you're going to be at whatever.
It's a variable refresh rate, so you're going to be at whatever the frame rate of the game is, right? If this basically has now an effective variable refresh range of 1 to 165,
That's
right?
huge.
So it's just huge, right? So any game you play, whether it be GTA or Skyrim or whatever that stays within that range, you're going to have a smooth gaming experience. We saw no issues. I played lots of games with it, and it worked fine. It worked exactly as Vsync should work.
Yep.
Now, if you are playing Unreal Tournament 2004, which we often do around here, and you're over 165 frames per second, then you get into, okay, it's enabling Vsync and those options again, but you're still playing at 165 hertz refresh.
Yeah, and that is liquid too.
Yeah.
Like if provided the game can go, that high.
Yeah.
That's really, like, I was just watching you play, not even, over your shoulder watching and trying to evaluate just how fluid it is. You were just playing the game, right? So you were kind of like immersed in it.
It must felt hard to do. Like mouse sensitivity and everything needed to be adjusted accordingly.
Right, like you had to turn stuff down, and you're like kind of overshooting stuff, or like it just kind of changes your perception.
So I think it's for gaming purposes.
Provided your games can go.
Well, even if they can't, like, you're just not taking advantage of the gap between 144 and 165. Like, if you never play games above 144, like if you're only playing modern AAA titles that come out, then you're not going to see an advantage of the higher refresh rate unless you decide to turn off Vsync for some reason.
It's true.
Right.
That is another thing. If you are not using Vsync, with the panel refresh this fast, it actually makes like judder and tearing even harder to perceive. It is still there, but it's you're really, I mean, eventually, if you had like a theoretical display that would go super, super fast, like you would never see any of that. You wouldn't even need G-Sync.
Right.
But this is still
the math
pretty
works
good.
out now at 165 hertz refresh rate to 6.06 millisecond redraw times.
Yep.
As opposed to, I think 144 6.9 milliseconds.
Yeah, so it knocked a
redraw
millisecond
times.
off.
Yeah.
Basically.
So it's an impressive display for sure. Other interesting changes, this uses a second generation G-Sync module, which includes HDMI support, but it does not support variable refresh over HDMI. So you still have to use DisplayPort for variable refresh, but they're supporting a secondary input essentially for convenience factor, right? You want to hook this up to a different system, an older system that doesn't have DisplayPort, or you just want to connect a different input to it. You can actually you do that now.
Chromecast or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anything like that.
It's got a 2-port USB 3.0 hub. It has an audio jack in the back, so if you have HDMI or DisplayPort audio going into the monitor, you can hook up your headphones directly there. That's kind of a convenience feature. You still got VESA mount. All the capability that you had in the ROG Swift before is there.
Yep. It does actually beat the previous one. You could see a tiny bit of like negative ghosting on an original ROG Swift.
Oh, right, on the overdrive side.
Yeah. And on this one, this is probably the best, just when overdrive is in normal, regardless of the refresh rate that's happening in variable mode or just in desktop mode, like this is the best default overdrive. Just, it's like perfect. It's like there's no, even at 160.
And that's important to have on an IPS screen as well.
Yeah. I mean, even at really high refresh rates, like if you have to turn the shutter speed way up on the camera, taking a picture of the screen, obviously, because it's refreshing so quickly. But if you catch it where it's just you can actually catch just one frame on the display with no ghost, nothing ahead of it, nothing behind it. It's just like whatever is being displayed at that moment, it is only that.
Yeah, we have pictures of it. I'm sure we're showing one here, and we also have them on the full review as well to compare the different overdrive settings of off, normal, and extreme. I mean, clearly, normal is the way to go. Like, it's the perfect balance of everything.
Yeah, and it's what they tune it at to be like what should be perfect. So,
like we said, color calibration turned out really well. Pricing, $799.
Same as the original one.
It's the same price as the original ROG Swift launched at.
Yeah.
And actually, that monitor, that original ROG Swift, still sells for like $670 today on Amazon and Newegg.
Yep.
Which is interesting. This is also the same price that the Acer 144 IPS G-Sync panel launched at.
But this has a way better just housing, stand, everything.
The kind of total package on this is better. The panel technology is essentially the same if you take out the 165 hertz overclock. And you can get the Acer one for about $50 less now.
The panel on the Acer is just as
still
beautiful.
Good.
Yeah. It's just not as fast as this.
Yep.
Apparently.
So I think it's fair to say that we have a new what we try to do here is we create standard or reference monitors to compare future ones to, and that standard and reference always changes.
Yep.
Right. When we first got our G-Sync modules in, our G-Sync monitors in rather, we had a couple. The first ROG Swift came out. That became the reference by which every other G-Sync module, every other G-Sync monitor, and FreeSync monitor was kind of compared to going forward. And then we kind of went with the Acer. The one that you have, the XB278Q.
That's the standard.
And it was the standard because
right
its
now,
visual was fantastic, but the presentation of everything else was lower. This kind of replaces it. Now we have a faster one that's better looking, better built, and is just overall a better total package. They're still expensive, guys. Like, I get it, $800 for a 2560 by 1440 monitor. Even though it's IPS, 165 hertz, G-Sync, that's still a ton of money. We just did a review of the 34-inch XR341CK, which is a 75 hertz 3440 by 1440 FreeSync monitor that's $1,000.
Yep.
Right, so there's not a whole lot of difference between this and that,
it's true.
But there is a lot of difference in terms of size and functionality and everything. So I understand that there's still going to be people concerned about the pricing issues, and that looks like it's something that's just going to continue for the foreseeable future at the very least.
I know people are going to ask, but real quick, we noticed like a tiny bit of backlight bleed at the far
IPS glow
edges.
and stuff, yeah.
Not just glow, but like backlight bleed just at the edges.
I think there was one up here.
But it was like, it was almost as if you could, I think it just happened from like shipping. I think it just got kind of banged around, because you can actually get it to go away just by like kind of manipulating
touching the
bezel of the panel. So that we saw just a tiny bit. It wasn't even noticeable until I had to put like a black background and look for it, you know, and get rid of taskbar and stuff to find it. So
it's going to vary obviously unit to unit.
Sure.
But nothing seemed like it was going to be a universal problem across the board for for the display.
Right.
So go to PCPro.com. We have a full review of this display up there, the ROG Swift PG279Q. ASUS says it will be available in the first week of November, MSRP $799, and they promised no availability concerns. They promised there would be no issues with being able to actually go out and buy it. We'll see how that holds up.
We're going to hold them to it.
But we'll see how that holds up, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.